Maria held the strap of her purse tightly as she watched Dr. Christine rummage through the dresser drawer for the 5th time. The room smelled of expensive French perfume, and the heavy silence made every second feel like an eternity. 15 years. 15 years of waking up at 5 in the morning, taking 2 buses to this mansion in Lincoln Park, Chicago, and caring for every corner of that house as if it were her own. And now she stood there, being treated like a stranger, like a thief. Her employer turned abruptly, her normally serene face now twisted into an expression Maria had never seen. Red eyes, smudged makeup, hands trembling as she held an empty velvet box. Where the jewels should have been, there was only the crumpled satin lining. It's all gone. The diamond necklace my mother left me, the emerald earrings, the gold bracelet. Everything, Maria. Everything that had sentimental value to me. Maria felt her legs weaken. Her mouth went dry, and the words refused to come out. She opened her lips, tried to speak, but was interrupted by a male voice from the doorway. "What's going on in here?" Dr. Frank's voice echoed through the room. He entered with long strides, his impeccable grey suit contrasting with the tense expression on his face. "Your mother's jewels are gone, Frank. They've disappeared from the locked drawer, and only 3 people have access to this room. Me, you, and Maria." The silence that followed was suffocating. Maria felt the weight of their gazes on her. Dr. Frank ran a hand through his greying hair, a gesture she knew well from her years working there. It was what he did when he was nervous or upset. Then he looked directly at her, and Maria saw something in his eyes that made her blood run cold. It wasn't anger, it was calculation, coldness. "Maria, I've trusted you all these years. You're practically family. Please, tell me this is a misunderstanding. Tell me you know where the jewels are. If you borrowed them for some reason, for some emergency, we can understand. We can sort this out now without any trouble." His voice was too calm, too controlled. Maria felt hot tears stream down her face. "Dr. Frank, I swear on my daughter's life, on my mother's, on everything that is sacred, I did not take Dr. Christine's jewels. I would never ever do such a thing. You know that, Dr. Christine, you know what I'm like. 15 years working here, 15 years taking care of this house, of Julia since she was a little girl. How can you think I would do this?" Maria's voice came out choked, broken by emotion. Christine looked away, unable to meet the housekeeper's gaze. Frank, however, remained impassive. "Maria, I understand you're upset, but facts are facts. The jewels were in the drawer yesterday. This morning they're gone. You were the last person to clean this room. You were the one who changed the bed linens yesterday afternoon." "But I didn't touch the drawer. I never touched the private drawers. You know that, Dr. Christine." Christine finally looked up, and Maria saw that she was crying too. "Maria, I want to believe you. God knows I do. But those jewels are worth over $150,000. I have to call the police. I need to file a report for the insurance." "No." Julia's shrill voice cut through the air as the teenager appeared at the bedroom door. "No, Mom, Maria would never do that, never. She's Auntie Maria. She erased me as much as you did." The 17-year-old's face was flooded with tears. She ran to Maria and hugged her tightly. "I know you didn't do it, Auntie. I know." Maria wrapped the girl in her arms, feeling her heart break into a million pieces. Julia was like a daughter to her. She had taught the girl how to tie her shoes, how to do her homework, had stayed by her side when she had chicken pox, when she broke up with her first boyfriend, when she got into college. And now she was here being accused of stealing from the very family she had helped raise. "Julia, get out of here," Frank's voice was sharp. "This is between the adults." "No, Dad. I won't let you do this to Auntie Maria. She's innocent." That's when something happened that no one expected. A shrill, familiar sound echoed through the house, coming from the living room. It was Jasper, the family parrot they had adopted 5 years ago. The green and yellow bird had a habit of repeating phrases he heard around the house, usually at inopportune moments. But this time the words that came out of the bird's beak made everyone in the room freeze. 20,000 in the red. 20,000. The loan shark's coming. Hide the jewels. Insurance pays for it all. The silence that followed was deafening. Maria felt Julia slowly pull away from her, Christine's eyes widened, turning to her husband with an expression of pure shock. Frank turned visibly pale, his jaw tightening. "Frank?" Christine's voice came out in a trembling whisper. "What is that bird talking about?" "It's nothing. He listens to the television, probably picked it up from some show. You know how he is." But Jasper didn't stop. As if triggered by an invisible switch, the parrot continued, his shrill voice filling every corner of the mansion. "Bet it all on the game. Lost everything. The loan shark wants 100,000. We'll pull the insurance scam. Maria takes the fall. No one will suspect." Maria's world seemed to stop. She looked at Frank, who was now as white as a sheet. The man tried to leave the room, but Christine grabbed his arm with a strength Maria never imagined her employer possessed. "Frank August Miller, you are not leaving this room until you explain to me what is happening. Now." Maria watched the man she had served for 15 years crumble before her eyes. His shoulders slumped, his hands trembled, and he leaned against the wall as if his legs could no longer support him. Julia had a hand over her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. And Christine, the always elegant and controlled Christine, was trembling from head to toe. Jasper, apparently satisfied with the commotion he had caused, let out a sharp squawk and then began again. "The jewels are in the study, behind the books. The loan shark can't know, nobody can know. Maria is the perfect scapegoat. She needs the family." Every word was like a punch to the gut. Maria felt her legs give way and she sank onto the edge of the bed. It couldn't be. It couldn't be possible that the man she had trusted, the family she considered her own, had planned to destroy her life, her reputation, her future, all to cover a gambling debt. Christine let go of her husband's arm and took a step back, as if his proximity burned her. Her voice, when it finally came, was laden with a visceral pain that made Maria feel sorry for her. Despite everything, "Frank, tell me this isn't true. Tell me this bird is crazy. Tell me you didn't plan to destroy the life of Maria, the woman who helped raise our daughter, to cover your gambling debts. Tell me." Frank sank to the floor, his knees buckling, his head in his hands. When he lifted his face, Maria saw tears streaming down the man's cheeks. "I had no choice. I had no choice, Christine. They're going to kill me. The loan shark said if I don't pay by the end of the month, they'll come after the family. After Julia. After you. I was desperate." Julia sobbed loudly, sliding down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. Maria remained on the bed, unable to process what was happening. Christine took a step toward her husband, but not to comfort him. Her voice came out like a sharp blade. "And the solution you found was to destroy an innocent woman, a woman who dedicates her life to this family, a woman who has a daughter in college and an elderly mother to support. That was your solution, Frank. You were going to let Maria be arrested. Have her life destroyed. Why? To buy time with the insurance money?" Frank didn't answer. He just remained on the floor, sobbing. Maria felt something inside her break. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the coldness with which it had all been calculated. She remembered the conversations she'd had with Frank over the past week. He had been kind, thoughtful, had even asked about her mother, about how Letitia was doing in college, and all the while he was planning to use Maria as a sacrifice to save his own skin. Maria's voice, when it finally came, was firmer than she expected. "Dr. Frank, you were going to have me arrested. You were going to let me be accused of theft, lose my job, my reputation, maybe even my freedom, all while knowing I'm innocent, knowing I have a family, knowing that Letitia depends on my salary to stay in school, knowing my mother is sick and needs medicine that I buy. You were going to do that to me?" Frank lifted his face, and Maria saw something in his eyes she had never seen before. Shame. Pure and utter shame. "Maria, I didn't know what to do. The debts just kept growing and growing. First it was just a bet here and there. Then I started losing more. I tried to recover the losses by betting more. It was a spiral. And the loan shark, he said if I didn't pay, bad things would happen. He was the one who suggested the insurance scam. He was the one who said to blame you. He said no one would suspect because you need money, because your daughter is in college, because your mother is sick. So you used my situation against me." Maria's voice was now icy. "You used the fact that I work hard, that I support my family, that I need this job to turn me into the perfect culprit. Julia was still on the floor, hugging her knees and crying. Christine approached Maria and, to the housekeeper's surprise, knelt before her, taking her hands. "Maria, forgive me. Forgive me for ever doubting you. Forgive me for not defending you immediately. You are family. You have always been family, and I let this happen." Maria looked at the woman she had served for 15 years and saw something she had never seen before: humility, genuine remorse, and somewhere deep inside her, Maria felt a small spark of hope ignite. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of this situation without everything being completely lost. But then Jasper let out another sharp squawk, and the words that came from his beak made Maria's blood run cold again. "Loan shark comes today, 9 o'clock, wants the money. No money, business failing, real estate won't sell, needs the insurance, needs to blame Maria, has to act fast." The mood in the room instantly shifted from remorse to pure panic. Christine dropped Maria's hands and turned to her husband with an expression of absolute disbelief. "Today? The loan shark is coming tonight? Frank, what kind of situation have you gotten us into?" Frank was pale, sweating cold despite the air conditioning. "I thought I had more time. The insurance takes a few days to process. I was going to say the jewels were stolen yesterday, file the report today, and by the time the loan shark arrived next week, I would have had the insurance money to pay at least part of it." Maria felt anger rise within her like a tidal wave. "You calculated everything, didn't you? Every detail, when to accuse me, when to call the police, when to get the insurance money. All perfectly planned, except for the part where the parrot talks too much." Julia got up from the floor, wiping her face with the back of her hands. Her voice was hoarse from crying. "Dad, I can't believe you. I can't believe you're capable of this. Auntie Maria is family. She's been there for every important moment of my life. She took me to the doctor when you and Mom were traveling. She comforted me when Raphael broke up with me. She's more family than half of our blood relatives." Jasper, who had been quiet for a few minutes, came back to life. "Julia loves Maria. Maria is family, but must be sacrificed. The boss said so. The loan shark doesn't forgive, must have a culprit. Maria is perfect. No one will doubt." The parrot's words echoed through the house like a slap in the face to everyone present. Maria felt her heart clench as she saw Julia break down in tears again. The girl ran to her and hugged her with all her might. "Auntie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all of this." Maria stroked the girl's hair, feeling her own tears fall. "It's not your fault, my love. It's not your fault." Christine rose from the floor with difficulty, as if her legs were weak. She walked to where Frank was still sitting and stared at him with a hardness Maria had never seen. "Get up, now." Frank obeyed slowly, leaning on the wall. Christine stepped closer, her voice low but full of venom. "You are going to tell me everything, every cent you owe, every bet you made, every lie you told, every detail of this disgusting plan, and you're going to do it now in front of Maria and Julia, because they deserve to know the whole truth after what you tried to do." Frank ran a hand over his face, taking a deep breath. "It started 2 years ago. Online betting. I thought I could control it. I won a few times at the beginning and thought I'd found an easy way to make extra money. The company was going through a rough patch with the economy. The properties we bought as investments weren't selling. I thought I could help our finances by betting." "You bet on what exactly?" Christine's voice was frigid. "Football, horse racing, online casinos, anything. And when I lost, I'd bet more to try and win it back. It grew, Christine. The debt just grew. First it was 10,000, then 20, then 50. I tried to stop, I swear I tried. But the loan shark showed up, offering loans for me to cover the losses and keep playing." "You took money from a loan shark to gamble?" Christine brought a hand to her chest, as if she was having trouble breathing. "Frank, what kind of insanity is this?" Maria watched everything in silence, still holding Julia. Part of her wanted to run out of that house and never look back. But another part, the part that had spent 15 years caring for that family, knew she had to stay. At least until she understood the full extent of the mess she was caught in. "How much?" Maria's question cut through the air. "How much do you owe the loan shark?" Frank hesitated, looking at his feet. $100,000. The company is in debt, the properties won't sell, the savings are gone. I had nowhere else to get money. The loan shark said if I don't pay by the end of the month, he'll collect in other ways. He mentioned you, Christine. He mentioned Julia. Julia shrank against Maria, who felt the girl tremble. Maria tightened her embrace, whispering words of comfort as her mind worked quickly. So the plan was to blame the housekeeper, get the insurance money, pay the loan shark, and everyone lives happily ever after. Except for me, of course. I'm the one who loses my job, my reputation, maybe even my freedom, and my daughter would have to drop out of college, and my mother would be without the medicine she needs. But that doesn't matter, does it? What matters is saving Dr. Frank's skin. The bitterness in Maria's voice was palpable. Frank finally looked up to meet her gaze, and Maria saw that he was crying. Maria, I know there's no excuse for what I was going to do. I know it's unforgivable. I was desperate and too much of a coward to face the consequences of my own choices. I preferred to destroy your life than to admit my mistakes. Christine moved away from her husband as if he were contagious. Maria, Julia, come with me, let's go. Julia, to the study. If the jewels are there, like Jasper said, I want to see them with my own eyes. The four people walked down the stairs in silence, with Jasper watching from his perch in the living room. As they passed him, the bird tilted his head and let out another phrase. Behind the law books, middle shelf, hidden in a cigar box, all planned. Maria felt a chill. That bird had heard everything. Every conversation, every detail of the plan. And he was revealing it all now, as if he were telling a simple story. In the study, Frank walked straight to the bookshelf. With trembling hands, he moved aside the thick volumes of business law and revealed an old cigar box. When he opened it, the sparkle of the jewels lit up everyone's faces. There was the diamond necklace, the emerald earrings, the gold bracelet, all intact. Christine took the jewels with trembling hands, tears now flowing freely. You hid my mother's jewels, the jewels she gave me on her deathbed, and you were going to make me believe they were stolen. You were going to make me believe that Maria, the woman who took care of our home and our daughter as if they were her own, had betrayed us. Frank, who are you? Because the man I married would never be capable of this. Frank was broken, leaning against the desk as if he would collapse at any moment. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Christine. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I let things get to this point. Jasper, who had flown in after them, landed on the back of a chair. The loan shark is dangerous. The loan shark doesn't play. 9 o'clock, needs money, lots of money. Or the family suffers. Maria glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 3 in the afternoon. They had 6 hours before the loan shark arrived. 6 hours to decide what to do. 6 hours to find a solution that didn't involve destroying an innocent person's life. Dr. Frank, Maria's voice came out surprisingly calm, considering the storm of emotions inside her. Do you have a plan now that the insurance scam won't work? Is there any way for you to get $100,000 in the next 6 hours? Frank shook his head, defeated. The properties take months to sell. The company has no cash flow. The investments are all gone. I have nothing. I've destroyed everything. I've destroyed my marriage, destroyed my daughter's trust, nearly destroyed your life, Maria. And in the end, I have nothing. Julia, who had been quiet until then, spoke for the first time since they entered the study. What about the art? Grandpa's collection is worth a lot, isn't it? Christine shook her head. They're all on loan to museums or pawned as collateral for loans your father took out. We have nothing of value left that can be sold quickly. Maria sat down in one of the study's chairs, feeling the weight of the situation fall on her shoulders. She thought of Letitia, her 20-year-old daughter, who was in her 3rd year of nursing at UIC. She thought of her mother, Conceição, 75 years old, who had diabetes and needed expensive medications. She thought of the 15 years she had dedicated to this family, waking before sunrise, crossing the city, cleaning, cooking, caring. And for what? To be nearly thrown to the wolves by a man who didn't have the courage to face his own choices. But even with all the anger, with all the betrayal, Maria couldn't just turn her back. That wasn't how her mother had raised her. Conceição always said that the true measure of a person isn't in how they act when everything is fine, but in how they act when everything is falling apart. And in that moment, with this family falling apart before her eyes, Maria knew she had a choice to make. Jasper let out another sharp squawk, and the words that followed made everyone in the study freeze again. The boss has hidden money, $100,000, offshore account, undeclared money. Scared of the IRS? That's why he won't use it. Prefers to sacrifice Maria, prefers to destroy an innocent life. The silence that followed was absolute. Maria felt as if the floor had disappeared from under her feet. Christine turned slowly to her husband, and the expression on her face was one of pure disbelief mixed with horror. "Frank, tell me that's not true. Tell me you don't have $100,000 hidden away while you were planning to destroy Maria's life." Frank couldn't look at anyone. His voice came out in a broken whisper. "It's money from some deals I made a few years ago. I didn't declare it. If I use it now, I'll be investigated. I could go to prison for tax evasion." Maria shot up from her chair so abruptly that it tipped over. "So, let me get this straight. You have $100,000, which is more than enough to pay off the loan shark hidden in an offshore account. But you'd rather send me to jail, destroy my life, leave my daughter unable to finish college, leave my mother without her medicine, all because you're afraid of being investigated for tax evasion. Is that it?" Maria's voice was loud now, all the anger and frustration exploding out of her. Julia started crying again, hugging her mother. Christine stood pale, her mother's jewels still in her hands. Christine dropped the jewels onto the desk with a clatter, each gemstone reflecting the chandelier's light like tiny, sparkling accusations. Her voice, when it finally came, was so cold that Maria felt the air grow heavier. "Frank August Miller, you would rather see an innocent woman accused of theft, lose everything she's built over 15 years of honest work, than face the consequences of your own crimes. You are a coward. You are not the man I thought I knew. You are a stranger." Frank finally looked up, his face red with shame and tears. "Christine, I was scared. The IRS doesn't forgive tax evasion. I could lose everything. I could go to jail and then you'd be left with nothing." "With nothing?" Christine's voice rose an octave. "We already have nothing, Frank. You gambled it all away. Our security, our future, our dignity, and now I find out you have $100,000 hidden away while you were planning to destroy an innocent person's life? While I was crying, thinking my mother's jewels had been stolen, while your daughter cried, believing the woman who raised her had betrayed us." Julia stepped away from her mother and walked up to her father. The girl was trembling, but there was a firmness in her voice that Maria had never heard before. "Dad, tomorrow you were going to call the police to arrest Auntie Maria. You were going to let her be taken away in handcuffs. You were going to let Letitia see her own mother accused of theft. You were going to let Conceição, who is already so frail, go through the humiliation of seeing her daughter called a thief. You were going to do that?" Jasper, ever attentive, answered for Frank. "Yes. Tomorrow morning, police at 8, police report, Maria in handcuffs. Perfect for the insurance, perfect for the loan shark. Nobody suspects the rich boss, everyone blames the poor housekeeper." The parrot's words were like knives being driven into everyone's hearts. Maria felt her legs weaken again and leaned on the desk. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. She would have been woken up by the police, handcuffed in front of her neighbors, taken away like a criminal. The news would have spread through her neighborhood, through the apartment building where she lived with her mother and daughter. Letitia would be seen as a thief's daughter. Conceição would have died of shame. It had all been planned, every detail. And Maria would never have found out if it weren't for the parrot. Maria looked at Jasper, the green and yellow bird who was now observing everything with his round, curious eyes. "Thank you," she whispered to the bird. "Thank you for saving me." The parrot tilted his head. "Maria is good. Maria is family. Maria doesn't deserve to suffer. The boss is bad. The boss lies." Frank collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. "I'm a monster. I'm a cowardly monster who was going to sacrifice an innocent woman to save my own skin. Maria, I have no words. There's no excuse. There's no possible forgiveness for what I was going to do." Maria approached him, and surprisingly, she felt the anger giving way to something different. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was an understanding that she was in the presence of a broken man destroyed by his own addiction and bad choices. a man who had lost his way and nearly dragged everyone down with him. "Dr. Frank," Maria's voice was steady now, "you have a serious problem. A gambling addiction is no joke. My brother went through it. He lost everything too. His house, his marriage, his job. He almost lost his life. But he sought help. He joined a support group. Today he's in recovery, rebuilding his life. You need help, professional help." Frank looked at Maria as if he were seeing a ghost. "You're offering me help after everything I was going to do to you." "I'm not offering it out of kindness," Maria answered honestly. "I'm offering it because if you don't treat this problem, it will destroy you and this family again. And I will not allow Julia to suffer anymore. She is not to blame for your choices." Christine approached Maria and took her hands. Maria had seen her employer cry only a few times in 15 years, but now the tears were flowing freely. "Maria, how can you be so strong, so generous? After all this, you're still thinking of Julia, still thinking of us." Maria squeezed Christine's hands. "Because I've spent 15 years in this house. Because I saw Julia take her first steps. Because I made her first baby food. Because I sat with her to teach her how to read. Because she calls me auntie and I love her as if she were my own blood niece. This family isn't perfect. Far from it. But it's still a family. And families don't abandon each other, even in the worst of times." Julia sobbed loudly and ran to hug Maria. "Auntie, I love you so much, so much. You're the best person I know." Maria hugged the girl, feeling her heart ache. "I love you too, my love, and that's why we need to solve this situation together." Jasper let out a sharp squawk, breaking the emotional moment. "Loan shark is coming! Black car! Arrived early! 3 hours early! Danger! Danger!" Everyone in the study froze. Maria ran to the window and saw a luxurious black car parking in front of the house. It was only 6 in the evening. The loan shark had arrived 3 hours ahead of schedule. "He's here," Maria whispered, feeling panic rise in her throat. "The loan shark is here now." Christine turned pale. "Frank, what do we do? We don't have the money. You said the bank only opens tomorrow to make the international transfer." Frank stood up from his chair, staggering. He was visibly panicking. I don't know what to do. He wasn't supposed to be here now. We don't have time. There's no way to get the money from the offshore account until tomorrow. I have to go to the bank in person, make the transfer. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill us all." The doorbell rang, a long, insistent sound that echoed through the house like an omen. Jasper flew in circles, agitated. "Danger, danger! Loan shark has no patience. Loan shark wants money now." Maria looked at the crumbling family around her and made a decision. "Dr. Frank, you and Dr. Christine will go outside and talk to this man. You'll explain the situation. You'll ask for more time. You'll negotiate." "Negotiate?" Frank was white as a sheet. "Maria, you don't understand. This man doesn't negotiate. He collects. And if you don't have the money, he collects in other ways. Then you'll have to make him understand that he will have the money tomorrow, all of it, with interest if necessary. But you need to buy time until the bank opens." "And if he doesn't accept?" Christine's voice was trembling. Maria looked at Julia, then at Christine, and finally at Frank. "Then we'll find out what we're capable of when we have no other choice. Let's go." The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. Maria felt her heart hammering in her chest as they walked to the front door. Frank went first, his hands trembling visibly. Christine held tightly to the returned jewels, as if they were a protective talisman. Julia stayed behind with Maria, holding the woman's hand tightly. When Frank opened the door, Maria saw 2 men on the step. The first was tall, thin, wearing an impeccable black suit. He had cold eyes that seemed to calculate the value of everything they saw. The second was more robust, clearly a bodyguard or henchman. Both emanated an aura of danger that made Maria swallow hard. "Frank," the man in the suit said in a surprisingly soft voice, "good to find you home. I came a bit early because, I was in the area and thought I'd stop by to resolve our pending matter." Maria saw Frank swallow hard. "Rodrigo, I wasn't expecting you so soon. Our meeting was for 9 o'clock. "It was," The man named Rodrigo gave a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "But as I said, I was nearby and decided to come early. After all, why wait when we can settle everything now? Do you have my money?" Frank hesitated, and Maria saw panic grow in his eyes. "Well, the situation is a bit complicated. I need one more day. Just one more day and I'll have all the money." Rodrigo tilted his head like a predator, studying its prey. "One day? Frank, you've owed me for 3 months. You've asked for more time twice, and now you want another day? I'm going to need a very good reason to accept that." That's when Christine stepped forward, surprising everyone. Her voice came out firm, without the earlier tremor. "The money is in an offshore account. My husband needs to go to the bank in person tomorrow morning to make the transfer. It's a procedure that can't be done online or over the phone, but the money is there. All the money you're demanding." Rodrigo studied Christine for a long moment, then looked at Frank. "Offshore account? Interesting. And why should I believe that? Why should I believe you're not stalling me again?" "Because I will go with him to the bank tomorrow," Christine replied without hesitation. "I will personally guarantee that this transfer is made, and if you want, you can send someone to accompany us. You can go yourself, but the money is there, and it will be yours by noon tomorrow." Maria watched the interaction with her heart in her throat. Christine was being incredibly brave, but Maria could see the fear in her eyes. Rodrigo was silent for a moment that seemed to last an eternity. Then he looked at his companion and gave a slight nod. "All right," he said finally. "Tomorrow at noon, but not at the bank. You make the transfer in the morning and bring me the cash to a location I will provide. And Frank, if you don't show up, if you try to fool me again, I won't be so understanding next time. Understood?" Frank nodded his head vigorously. "Understood. Tomorrow at noon, you'll have your money." Rodrigo gave one last look at the family gathered at the entrance, his eyes passing over Maria and Julia, before returning to Frank. "Until tomorrow, then, and Frank, don't disappoint me. I really don't like to be disappointed." With that, the two men turned and left. Maria saw the black car drive down the street before she finally let out the breath she had been holding. Beside her, Frank collapsed against the doorframe, his legs giving out. Christine held him up, she herself trembling now that the adrenaline was wearing off. The door closed and the silence that followed was deafening. Frank slid down the frame until he was sitting on the floor of the entryway, his breathing heavy and ragged. Christine leaned against the wall, her hands still shaking. Julia ran to Maria and clung to her like a frightened child, despite her 17 years. Maria looked at this broken family and felt a complex mix of emotions. Anger was still there, burning somewhere deep inside, but there was also a strange sense of relief. They had bought time. One day. 24 hours to solve a mess that had taken years to create. Jasper landed on the stair railing, watching everyone with his attentive eyes. "Loan shark left. Bought. Time tomorrow at noon, needs the money, all the money, $80,000, $100,000. Maria frowned. "I thought the debt was $100,000. Frank lifted his head, his face still pale. "It is, but with interest, penalties and everything else, he's charging $120,000 now, and it's going up every day." Christine knelt beside her husband, but didn't touch him. "Frank, tomorrow morning, as soon as the bank opens, we're going there. We'll transfer the money from that account, we'll withdraw it in cash, and we'll pay this man. But after that, after we've resolved this immediate situation, you and I are going to have a very serious conversation about our marriage." Frank nodded, unable to look at his wife. I know I've ruined everything. Maybe it's better if you leave. Take Julia. You deserve better than a gambling, lying, cowardly husband." Julia let go of Maria and knelt beside her parents. "Dad, I'm so angry with you. So angry I can't even put it into words. But you're still my dad, and if you really want to fix things, you need to start by getting help, real help, like Auntie Maria said." Maria approached the group and crouched down too, forming a circle. "Dr. Frank, a gambling addiction is an illness. It's not a lack of character or moral weakness. It's a disease that needs treatment. My brother, Michael, went through the same thing. He lost his house, his marriage, almost lost his children, But when he finally admitted he needed help and started attending Gamblers Anonymous, his life began to rebuild. He's been clean for 5 years now. He has a new job, he's reconciled with his children. It wasn't easy, but it was possible. Frank finally looked at Maria, and she saw something in his eyes that looked like desperate hope. "You think there's a chance for me? After everything I did? After planning to destroy your life?" "I don't know," Maria answered honestly. "I know the road will be difficult. It will require you to admit your mistakes, face the consequences, and work every single day to stay away from gambling. But yes, I think there's a chance. If you truly want to change." Christine wiped the tears from her face and took a deep breath. "First, we solve the issue with the loan shark. Then we deal with the company, the debts, the legal problems with the offshore account. And then, Frank, you will seek treatment. That's not a suggestion. It's a requirement. If you want any chance of saving this marriage, of rebuilding your daughter's trust, you will get help." Frank nodded vigorously. "I will, I swear I will. I'll do anything to fix this." Jasper let out a sound that almost seemed approving. "Boss will get treatment. Boss will get better. Family will be okay. Maria saved everyone." Maria couldn't help but smile faintly at the Parrot's declaration. "It wasn't just me. Jasper, you were the hero here. If it weren't for you revealing everything, I'd be accused of theft right now, maybe even in jail." The bird tilted his head, clearly proud of himself. "Maria is innocent. Jasper knows. Jasper hears everything. Jasper speaks the truth." The four of them finally got up from the floor, each processing everything that had happened that impossible afternoon. Maria looked at the clock on the wall. It was 7 in the evening. In less than 4 hours, their lives had been turned upside down, nearly destroyed, and then, unexpectedly, given a second chance. "Doctor." "Christine," Maria said softly, "I need to go home. My mother and Letitia must be wondering where I am. I'm usually home by now." Christine picked up her purse and took out a thick envelope. "Maria, this is your salary for this month, plus a bonus. I want you to take a few days off. After everything you've been through today, you deserve to rest. And when you come back, things will be different. I promise." Maria hesitated before taking the envelope. "Dr. Christine, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it for Julia, for this family that I helped build." "I know," Christine replied, placing the envelope in Maria's hands, "but you deserve to be valued. You deserve to know that we recognize everything you've done for us all these years. And Maria, when this crisis is over, I want to have a talk with you about your future here, about how we can do things differently, better." Maria put the envelope in her purse, still processing everything. Julia hugged her tightly one more time. "Auntie, thank you for not abandoning us. Thank you for still believing in us even when we didn't deserve it." Maria kissed the girl's forehead. "You always deserved it, my love. Always." Frank approached but kept a respectful distance. "Maria, I know you can't forgive me right now. Maybe you never will. But I want you to know that I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the second chance you've given me. I will seek treatment. I will fix this mess. And I will make sure you are compensated for everything you went through today." Maria looked at the man who had almost destroyed her life and nodded. "I hope so, Dr. Frank, for you, for your family, and for me too." Jasper flew onto Maria's shoulder, making her smile. "Does the parrot want to go with Maria?" No, you stay here and take care of the family. They're going to need you tomorrow to make sure everything goes as planned." The bird flew back to Christine. "Maria is wise, Maria is strong, Maria is family." Maria picked up her purse and headed for the door. Before leaving, she turned one last time. "Tomorrow at noon, don't be late. And Dr. Frank, about that offshore account. After you pay the loan shark, you need to regularize that situation. Tax evasion won't just disappear on its own." Frank nodded, the shame evident on his face. "I know. I'll hire a tax attorney. I'll make a deal with the IRS. I'll pay penalties, interest, whatever it takes. But I'm going to do things the right way this time." Maria left the mansion and began the long journey back home. While waiting at the bus stop, she took out her phone and called her daughter. Letitia answered on the second ring, her voice worried. "Mom, where are you? It's late." Sorry, honey, I had a problem at work. I'm on my way home now. How's Grandma? She's fine, took her medicine, had dinner, she's watching TV. Mom, is everything okay? Your voice sounds strange. Maria felt tears threaten to fall again. Everything's okay now, honey. Everything is fine. When I get home, we'll talk. When the bus finally arrived and Maria sat by the window, she let the tears flow freely. They weren't just tears of relief, although there was a lot of that. They were tears of emotional exhaustion, of anger not yet fully processed, of fear of what could have been. But there were also tears of hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, something good could come out of all this chaos. The next morning, Maria woke up early as always, but this time not to go to work. She stayed home with her mother and daughter, trying to explain what had happened without going into all the sordid details. Conceição held her daughter's hand tightly, her eyes full of tears. My daughter, God protected you. That parrot was an angel in disguise. Maria smiled faintly. Maybe he was, Mom. Maybe he was. At 10 in the morning, her phone rang. It was Christine. Maria, we're at the bank. We managed to make the transfer. We're going to withdraw the cash now and go straight to the meeting with Rodrigo. I wanted you to know. Maria felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Thank you for letting me know, Dr. Christine. Good luck. When she hung up, Letitia was looking at her curiously. Mum, what really happened yesterday? Can you tell me now? Maria looked at her daughter, so beautiful, so smart, almost a registered nurse. She thought about how she had almost lost everything, how Letitia had almost had to see her mother accused of theft, how Conceição had almost had to endure the humiliation of having her daughter arrested. Letitia, sometimes people make terrible choices, choices that can destroy lives. But yesterday, the truth came out in a way no one expected, and today, that family is getting a second chance to make things right. At noon, Maria was sitting with her mother and daughter in the living room when her phone rang again. It was Christine again, but this time her voice was different, lighter, relieved. Maria, it's done. We delivered the money. $80,000 in cash. Rodrigo took it and gave us another month to pay the rest, but now we have time to sell the company, pay everything off properly. Maria closed her eyes, finally feeling like she could breathe. Thank God, Dr. Christine, thank God. Maria, Christine continued, her voice growing more serious. Frank and I talked a lot this morning, about everything, about the company, the debts, the future, and we wanted to talk to you too. Can you come over this afternoon? There's a proposal we'd like to make. Maria hesitated. A proposal? Please, Maria. Trust me one more time. This is important, for all of us. Maria agreed, and a few hours later she was back at the mansion in Lincoln Park. This time, however, the atmosphere was completely different. There was no tension in the air, just a kind of resigned weariness mixed with something that felt like cautious hope. Christine greeted her at the door with a tight hug. Thank you for coming. Frank and Julia are in the living room. Let's all talk together. In the living room, Frank was sitting on the sofa, with Julia beside him. Jasper was on his perch, watching everything with interest. When Maria entered, the bird let out a cheerful squawk. Maria's back. Maria is family, always was, always will be. Maria sat in the armchair Christine indicated, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Frank looked different, older somehow, as if the weight of the last 24 hours had added years to his face. But there was also something different in his eyes, a clarity that wasn't there before. Maria, Frank began, his voice hesitant but firm. Christine and I spent the morning talking about everything, about the debts, about my addiction, about the future of this family, and we've come to some difficult conclusions. Christine sat next to her husband, maintaining a subtle but noticeable distance. We got a call this morning right after we paid Rodrigo. It's from a businessman who's interested in buying Frank's company. The offer isn't what it was worth 2 years ago, but it's enough to pay off all the remaining debts and have some capital left over. Frank continued. At first my instinct was to refuse. The company is everything I've built over the last 20 years. But then Maria, You said something yesterday that hasn't left my mind. You said that addiction is an illness that needs treatment. And I realize that as long as I have this company, with all the pressure and stress it brings, I'll be at risk of relapsing. Julia, who had been quiet until then, spoke softly. We decided to sell, Auntie Maria. Sell everything. The company, the mansion, the cars. Start over from scratch, for real this time. Maria looked at each of them, processing what they were saying. You're going to sell everything? Christine nodded. The mansion is worth a lot, enough to pay off what's left of the debts after selling the company, regularize the situation with the IRS, and still have capital to start over. We're going to move into a smaller house, much smaller, but it will be ours, debt-free, without the weight of maintaining this lifestyle that was suffocating us. Frank leaned forward, his hands clasped. Maria, I called a tax attorney this morning. I'm going to make a deal with the IRS. I'm going to declare the money from the offshore account, pay all the penalties and interest. I'm going to clean up this mess I created. And I've also scheduled my first Gamblers Anonymous meeting. It's tomorrow night. Maria felt something tighten in her chest. It was relief, but also a strange sense of pride. This family, which had been on the brink of complete collapse just a day ago, was making courageous decisions. I'm happy to hear that, Dr. Frank. Truly. But there's more, Christine said, exchanging a look with her husband. We had an idea that involves you, Maria. If you're willing to listen. Maria frowned. What kind of idea? Julia couldn't contain herself. Auntie, we want you to be our partner, our real partner. Maria blinked, confused. Partner? In what? Christine smiled, the first genuine smile Maria had seen in days. After selling everything and paying off the debts, we'll have some money left over. Not a lot, but enough to start something new. And Frank and I have always dreamed of owning a bed and breakfast in some town in the country, away from the madness of Chicago, a quiet, beautiful place where we can start over. Frank continued. But we don't want to do it alone. We want to do it with someone we trust, someone who knows the value of hard work, someone who is honest, dedicated, and has already proven she's part of this family in all the ways that matter. Maria, we want you to be our partner, a real partner with a share of the profits, decision-making power, everything. Maria was dumbfounded. Are you serious? You want me, a housekeeper, to be your partner in a business? You're not just a housekeeper, Maria, Christine said firmly. You're an intelligent, hard-working woman with incredible skills in home management, cooking, hospitality. You're exactly the kind of partner we need, and more importantly, your family. For real. Not on paper, not by blood, but by choice and love. Julia got up and knelt in front of Maria. Auntie, please say yes, please. We want to do this together, as a family. Jasper, who had been surprisingly quiet, chose that moment to speak. Maria deserves it. Maria is family. Maria is a partner. All together. Strong family. Maria felt tears stream down her face. But I don't have any money to invest. I have no capital. You have something more valuable, Frank said. You have experience, dedication, and a work ethic that no money can buy. We'll provide the financial capital. You'll provide your knowledge and labor. And we'll split everything fairly, 30% for you, 30% for me, 30% for Christine, and 10% in a fund for Julia when she finishes college. Maria was speechless. Part of her wanted to accept immediately, but another part, the practical part that had learned to distrust beautiful promises, hesitated. And Letitia, and my mother, they depend on me. That's exactly why, Christine said softly. As a partner, you'll earn much more than you do now. You'll be able to give your daughter and your mother a better life. Letitia can continue college without worrying. Conceição can have all the medicine she needs. And you, Maria, you can finally be recognized for your true worth. Maria closed her eyes, trying to process it all. It was a lot of change. Just 2 days ago, her life was in a predictable routine. Wake up, work, go home. And now she was being offered a chance to become a business owner, a partner, part of something new. Auntie, Julia held Maria's hands. "We know it's a lot to take in, and we know that after what Dad did, you have every right not to trust us. But I swear on my life, this is real. We want to do this with you." Frank stood up and went to Maria but didn't get too close. He kept a respectful distance. "Maria, I know I broke your trust. I know it will take me a long time to earn it back, if I ever can, but this offer is sincere. We want you as part of this, as part of the real family, not just as an employee." Maria opened her eyes and looked at each of them. She saw the genuine hope in their faces. She saw the remorse in Frank. She saw the love in Julia. She saw the determination in Christine, and something inside her, something that had been hurt and nearly broken, began to heal. "I need time to think. I need to talk to my mother and Letitia. This isn't a decision I can make alone." "Of course," Christine said immediately. "Take all the time you need. But Maria, while you're thinking, I want you to know something. Regardless of your decision about the B&B, I've already made some decisions about your job here. From now on, you'll have a 50% raise. You'll have a retirement fund that we'll contribute to monthly. And you'll have paid vacation, something I should have offered years ago." Maria's eyes widened. "Dr. Christine, that's too much." "It's not nearly enough," Christine replied, her voice firm. "But it's a start. It's the least I can do after everything you've been through. And Maria, even if you decide not to be our partner in the B&B, even if you decide to find another job after all this, these conditions still stand as long as you're with us, because you deserve it. You always have." Maria couldn't hold back the tears. Julia hugged her tightly and Christine joined the hug. Even Frank, keeping a respectful distance, had tears in his eyes. Jasper flew in circles, singing, "Family, family, love, forgiveness, second chance." That night, Maria went home earlier than usual. She found Letitia studying at the kitchen table and Conceição watching television. They both looked up in surprise when Maria walked in. "Mom," Letitia stood up. "Are you okay? Are you crying?" Maria sat down at the table and told them everything. Every sordid detail of the accusation, the plan, the Parrot's revelation, the loan shark, the proposal. When she finished, Letitia had her hands over her mouth, her eyes wide. Conceição had come over and was holding her daughter's hand tightly. "My daughter," Conceição said in a trembling voice. "My dear daughter, you were almost destroyed because of that man's weakness. But God protected you. That bird was an instrument of God." Maria smiled through her tears. "He was, Mom, he really was." Letitia was processing it all. "Mom, they want you to be their partner, in a bed and breakfast. Is that for real?" Maria nodded. "It is. But I don't know what to do, honey. It's so much change. We'd have to move, probably to the country. You'd have to transfer colleges or commute every day, and there's Grandma to consider." Conceição slapped the table with her free hand, surprising them both. "Maria, you are going to accept this offer. Mom, you are going to accept because this is the chance you've waited your whole life for. You've worked as a housekeeper for 15 years. 15 years of waking up at dawn, crossing the city, taking care of a house that wasn't yours. And now you're being offered the chance to have your own business, to be an owner, to be a partner. You are not going to throw that away because of me. But Mum, your health. My health will be fine anywhere that has a doctor and a pharmacy, and I'd rather live in a small town in the country than in this crazy city. Maria, accept this offer. For you. For me. For Letitia." Letitia nodded vigorously. "Grandma's right, Mum. This is amazing. You can be a business owner, and I can finish college anywhere, or do it online. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you deserve this. You've always deserved more than the world gave you." Maria looked at the two, most important women in her life, and felt something break inside her. It wasn't a bad thing. It was as if a wall she had built around her heart, a wall of protection against pain and disappointment, was crumbling. And on the other side were possibilities. Hope. A different future. "So you think I should accept?" Conceição squeezed her daughter's hand. I think you should follow your heart, but I also think your heart already knows the answer. 2 years later, Maria stood on the porch of the Jasper Inn in Asheville, North Carolina, watching the sun rise over the mountains. The crisp morning air carried the scent of pine trees and the distant sound of waking birds. She held a warm mug of coffee in her hands and smiled as the first light of day painted the sky in shades of pink and orange. So much had changed since that terrible day she was almost accused of theft. The transformation hadn't been easy or quick, but it had been real. After Maria accepted the partnership proposal, events moved swiftly. Frank sold the company in less than a month. The mansion in Lincoln Park was put on the market and sold in 6 weeks to a family of entrepreneurs. The luxury cars were traded for more modest models, and the family moved into a simple but comfortable house while they searched for the perfect property for the inn. It was Julia who found the place, an old property in Asheville with 5 cottages that needed renovating, a main house with a large living room and industrial kitchen, and 5 acres of land with a view of the mountains. It had been abandoned for years and needed a lot of work, but the price was right and the potential was obvious. It took 8 months to renovate everything. Frank, under Maria's guidance, and with the help of a team of local builders and carpenters, transformed the cottages into charming and cozy accommodations. Christine used her design talent to decorate each space with a rustic chic style that won over the first guests immediately. Julia, who had temporarily paused her law degree and started studying hospitality online, created the inn's social media presence and developed a marketing strategy that brought in visitors from the first week of opening. And Maria proved to be the heart of the operation. With her experience in hospitality, she trained the small team of staff, supervised the cleaning and maintenance of the cottages, and most importantly, she cooked. The breakfasts at the Jasper Inn quickly became famous in the region. Homemade cakes, fresh bread, artisanal jams, freshly brewed coffee. All made by Maria's hands, who discovered that cooking for grateful people was very different from cooking as a housekeeper. Letitia had managed to transfer to a university in a nearby city and commuted 3 times a week, helping at the inn on weekends. Conceição had her own little room in the main house, overlooking the garden that Frank personally tended to every day. Her health had even improved with the fresh mountain air and the quieter life. Frank had kept all his promises. He attended his Gamblers Anonymous meetings religiously 3 times a week. He had also gone to individual therapy. He hadn't placed a single bet in 2 years. The debt to Rodrigo had been completely paid off 4 months after the first payment, using the money from the company sale. The situation with the IRS had been resolved with a competent tax attorney. Frank paid heavy fines but avoided bigger problems by volunteering to regularize everything. The relationship between Frank and Christine had been slowly rebuilt. They slept in separate rooms for the first 6 months, working through couples therapy to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. But gradually, step by step, the love between them was rekindled. It wasn't the same love as before. It was more mature, more conscious, built on honesty and hard work instead of appearances and convenience. The porch door opened and Jasper flew out, landing on Maria's shoulder. The Parrot had his own aviary in the common area of the inn, but had free access to the entire property. The guests loved him, especially the children. Jasper had become the official mascot of the inn, and his story, of course, was part of the place's charm. "Good morning, Maria," the Parrot sang. "Coffee smells good. Guests will be waking up." Maria stroked the bird's green feathers. "Good morning, Jasper. You saved us all, you know. You're the hero of this story." "Jasper is family. Everyone is family. Real family." The bird affectionately nibbled Maria's ear. The door opened again and Julia came out, still in her pajamas with her hair disheveled. "Auntie, you're already up? It's only 6. "In the morning," Maria smiled. "Old habits. 15 years of waking up at 5 in the morning don't just disappear." Julia came over and hugged Maria from the side, resting her head on the woman's shoulder. "You know you don't have to wake up so early anymore, right? You're an owner now, you can sleep in if you want." Maria laughed softly. "I know, but I like watching the sunrise. I like this moment of peace before the day begins. Besides, the bread needs to go in the oven soon if we're going to have fresh breakfast for the guests at 8. Julia sighed contentedly. Auntie, do you remember that day, 2 years ago, when my dad almost destroyed everything? How could I forget? I still have nightmares about it sometimes, about what could have happened if Jasper hadn't spoken up. If you had been accused, if you had gone to jail, life would be so different now. Maria tightened her hug. But it didn't happen, my love. And look where we are now. Look what we've built together. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sun continue its ascent. Then Julia spoke again, her voice softer. Dad is doing well, Auntie. Really well. He hasn't gambled in over 2 years. He's happy taking care of the garden, doing maintenance on the cottages, talking to the guests. It's like he found the peace he was looking for in the wrong place all that time. Maria nodded. I see it. I see how he's changed, how you've all changed, how I've changed too. Do you think you've completely forgiven him? Julia asked, turning to look Maria in the eyes. Maria thought for a moment before answering. I don't know if it's complete forgiveness. It still hurts when I remember what he planned to do. But I've chosen to leave that pain in the past. I've chosen to focus on the present, on what we've built together, on the future we're creating, and that, I think, is the best form of forgiveness I can offer. Julia hugged Maria tighter. You're amazing, Auntie. The strongest person I know. I'm not strong, my love. I'm just a woman who learned that holding onto a grudge hurts the person holding it more than the person who did wrong. And that family, real family, is about choosing to be together even when it's hard. The door opened once more and Christine came out, already dressed and ready for the day. Good morning, you two. And good morning, Jasper. The guests in Cottage 3 asked for breakfast at 7:30 today because they're going on an early hike. Maria moved away from Julia and started walking toward the kitchen. No problem. I'll get theirs ready first. Is Letitia awake yet? Still sleeping. Let her rest. She had an exam at the university yesterday and got in late. Maria entered the large, bright kitchen, her absolute domain. The pots and pans hung neatly above the central island. The ingredients were all in their places. It was her space, and she loved it. She began to prepare the bread dough, her movements automatic after years of practice. Christine followed her and started making the coffee. Christine, Maria said as she worked the dough, I never asked you, do you regret it? All of this? Leaving the mansion, the life of luxury, everything you had in Chicago. Christine paused, the coffee pot in her hand. Then she smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her face. Not for a second, Maria, not for a single second. The life we had was a lie built on debt and appearances. It was suffocating, it was empty. Here at this inn, cooking beside you, working with my daughter, seeing my husband healthy and happy, I finally found something real, something worthwhile. Maria felt a wave of emotion and had to blink back tears. Who would have thought that a false accusation and a talkative parrot would lead us to this, right? Christine laughed, a light musical sound. Who would have thought? But you know, Maria, I've learned something in these 2 years. I've learned that sometimes the biggest blessing comes disguised. As the worst crisis, if that terrible day hadn't happened, Frank might never have hit rock bottom. He might never have sought help. He might have kept gambling until he truly lost everything, and we would never have built this place. We would never have you as a real partner, as real family. Conceição entered the kitchen, moving slowly with the help of a cane. Good morning, girls. What a wonderful smell. Who wants coffee? I'll make it for you, Mom, Maria said, wiping her hands on a towel. No, I'll do it. You have to prepare breakfast for the guests. I just came to make my cup and maybe steal a piece of that bread when it's ready. The 3 women laughed together, and the sound filled the kitchen with warmth. Frank appeared at the door, wearing overalls and work boots. Has anyone seen the pruning shears? I need to trim the rose bushes before the guests wake up. They're in the shed, Frank, Christine answered, where they always are. Oh, right. Sorry, my head's still half asleep. Frank poured himself a cup of coffee and then stopped, looking at the 3 women in the kitchen and Julia, who had come in behind him. You know, he said softly, I know I've said this 1,000 times, but I have to say it again. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for giving me a second chance when I didn't deserve one." Maria stopped what she was doing and looked at the man who had almost destroyed her life. She saw now not the rich, arrogant employer, but an imperfect human being who had made terrible mistakes but was genuinely trying to be better. "Frank, we all deserve second chances. We all deserve the opportunity to grow from our mistakes. You grabbed that chance with both hands, that's what matters." Frank nodded, emotional, and left quickly before anyone could see the tears in his eyes. Jasper, who had been quiet until then, chose that moment to speak. Family is love. Family is forgiveness. Family is a second chance. The truth saved the family. Maria smiled at the parrot. "Yes, Jasper, the truth saved the family, and you were the one who brought that truth to light." The day at the Jasper Inn continued at its peaceful pace. The guests praised the breakfast, took photos with the parrot, hiked in the mountains, and returned for a delicious dinner prepared by Maria. In the evening, the family gathered on the porch of the main house, as they did every night when they weren't too tired. "You know," Julia said, looking at the stars, "I was thinking, maybe we should write our story, the real story of how we almost lost everything and then rebuilt. I think it could inspire other people." Maria laughed. Who would believe it? A housekeeper almost accused of theft, saved by a talking parrot who then becomes a partner in an inn. It sounds like a soap opera script. "But it's true," Christine said, "and truth is stranger than fiction, isn't it? Maria, would you agree if Julia wrote our story?" Maria thought for a moment. "If it's to inspire other people not to give up when all seems lost, if it's to show that second chances exist, that families can be rebuilt, that forgiveness is possible, then yes. Tell our story." Frank, who was sitting a little apart, spoke softly. "But tell the whole truth. Don't spare me. People need to know how low someone can fall because of addiction. They need to know the consequences, but they also need to know that there's hope, that there's a way out, that there's redemption." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Maria was alone on the porch once more. She looked at the stars shining over the mountains and thought about everything that had happened. She thought about the woman she was 2 years ago, the housekeeper who woke up at 5 in the morning, took 2 buses, and spent her day taking care of a house that wasn't hers. She thought about how she had almost lost everything because of someone else's weakness. And she thought about the woman she was now, a respected business owner, a partner with a voice, a mother figure to a family that truly loved her. The journey hadn't been easy. There were still days when the pain of betrayal returned, days when she wondered if she had made the right choice, but then she would look around, see the inn they had built, see the family they had become, see the future they were creating together, and she knew. She knew she had made the right choice, not the easiest choice, but the right one. Jasper appeared out of nowhere, flying to her shoulder. The bird had a habit of showing up at the most unexpected moments, as if he knew when someone needed company. "Is Maria happy?" the parrot asked, tilting his head. Maria gently stroked the bird's feathers. "Yes, Jasper, Maria is happy, finally, genuinely happy. Family is happy, everyone happy. Second chance was good. Truth saved everyone." Maria smiled. "You're right, my friend. The truth saved us all. And you. You were the unlikely hero who brought that truth to light. Who would have thought a parrot could change so many lives?" "Jasper is smart. Jasper hears everything. Jasper loves family." "And the family loves Jasper," Maria replied. "Very, very much." When she finally went to bed, Maria passed by Julia's room and saw a light on under the door. She knocked softly. The girl opened it, holding a laptop. "Auntie, still awake?" "I could ask you the same thing." Julia smiled, half embarrassed. "I was starting to write. Our story. It's just a draft, but I wanted to start while it's fresh in my memory." Maria entered the room and sat on the bed. "How are you going to start?" Julia turned the laptop screen to Maria. She had written only one sentence. "On a day that began like any other, a housekeeper discovered that the truth, no matter how painful, is always preferable to the most comfortable of lies." Maria read the sentence and nodded, moved. "Perfect, my love. Absolutely perfect. Tell our story." But remember to emphasize the most important part, the part about how family isn't defined by blood, but by love, choice, and the willingness to forgive and rebuild together. Julia hugged Maria. I will, Auntie. I'll tell everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. I'll tell how we almost lost everything and how a parrot saved us. I'll tell how you, even when betrayed, chose love over hate. I'll tell how my father found redemption, how my mother found courage, how we all found our way back to each other. Maria kissed the girl's forehead. Good night, my love. Don't stay up too late. As she returned to her own room, Maria passed through the living room and saw the framed photo Christine had placed on the main wall. It was a picture of all of them on the day the inn opened. Frank, Christine, Julia, Maria, Letitia, Conceição, and of course Jasper in the center, his bright green feathers shining in the sun. Everyone smiling, genuinely happy. A family not of blood, but of choice. A family built on second chances, forgiveness, and unconditional love. Maria touched the photo gently and whispered to herself, Thank you. Thank you for this second chance, for this new life, for this family. And as the moon shone over the Jasper Inn, over the family sleeping peacefully, over the parrot nestled on his perch, there was a sense that everything was finally as it should. Imperfect, yes, still a work in progress, of course, but real, honest, and full of love.